Hillary Clinton made some comments at a fundraiser in New York recently that are getting some backlash. She was talking about Trump supporters, and she said, quote, just to be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables, right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that, and he has lifted them up. He has given voice to their websites. He tweets and retweets their offensive, hateful, mean-spirited rhetoric. And then she continues, she says, another basket are, quote, people who feel the government has let them down, the economy let them down, nobody cares about them. And she stressed that, quote, those are people we have to understand and empathize with as well. Now, I have to admit, when I first saw the stories on this and I read the headlines, I was under the impression that she was going to make the same argument that Paul Krugman made that I went after Paul Krugman for, where it's almost like Paul Krugman downplayed the Trump voters who really are kind of victims of a shitty system and neoliberal politics. And I think that's a very convenient and cute way to try to seep responsibility from Democratic establishment lawmakers who are also responsible for not helping those people and having a good system set up that fosters those people's well-being. And it makes it so that you can just say, yeah, they're just a bunch of racists and they're just a bunch of bigots anyway, so who gives a shit? They're just bad people. Again, that's a weird way to work around it in your own mind and take responsibility away from establishment Democrats and this system that you created, which has victimized a lot of people. And when you're victimized and when you're down on your luck, you're much more likely to turn to scapegoating and being bigoted and trying to point the finger at somebody else. But when you read the whole Hillary Clinton quote in context and you disregard just the headlines, the quote's actually much more reasonable than that, because she's admitting, like, no, yeah, maybe 50% are people who are genuine victims, and they just kind of turn to Trump because Trump appears like he's going to stand up for the little guy when, if you know anything about his record, he's obviously a liar, and he's not going to do that. So I was surprised when I read the quote, and I go, oh, that's actually nowhere near as bad as the headlines, the misleading headlines made it seem, because the headlines made it seem like she just called Trump supporters, full stop, a basket of deplorables, which I would totally disagree with. But no, she's being a little more nuanced, and she's saying, well, I'll say it's like 50-50. By the way, I don't know if it's exactly 50-50, because it's hard to quantify something like that. But yes, it is true that there are some Trump supporters who are just bigots and xenophobes, and they like him specifically for that reason, and even if they had all the money and opportunity in the world, they would be bigots and xenophobes. And then there's other people who are turning to Trump because, like I said, they're so down on their luck and they're so hopeless and helpless because of this economy that has been created and rigged against them by establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats. Okay, but let's dig deeper here. I want to give you some specific poll numbers so we get a sense of what we're looking at when it comes to Trump voters. 59% of Trump supporters believe Obama was not born in the United States. There's no excuse for that at this point. There's no excuse for that. I mean, he released a short-form birth certificate. He released his long-form birth certificate. He released the announcement in a Hawaii newspaper of his birth. I mean, it's been so thoroughly proven that he's born in the United States that the only reason to hang on to him not being born in the United States is if you're ignorant or you really are a bigot and you think, come on now, he's black. Blacks are an American. He ain't like us. He don't look like me. 40% of Trump supporters believe that black people are, quote, more lazy than whites. 40%. A third of Trump supporters think Japanese internment was a good thing. 31% would ban gays from coming into the United States. Like, I love how out of left field that is. Or probably right field is a better way of saying it. 31% are tell a pollster, yeah, I'd totally ban the gays from coming here. We don't want them spreading their gay demon seed. All right, 20% of Trump supporters disagreed with Lincoln's signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed Southern slaves. and 87% of Trump supporters are on board with banning all Muslims from coming to the United States. So, is there a percentage, a certain number of these people that it is true that they're just bigots? For whatever reason, they were brainwashed from when they're young or whatever. But, they're bigoted, they're xenophobic, and that's the sole reason why they're supporting Trump. And even if they were rich and had all the opportunity in the world, they'd still just be bigoted. Yeah, that exists. Of course that exists. But then again, the other, side of the coin here is that there are many people who are supporting Trump who are genuine victims of a shitty system and an economy that's rigged against them, and they feel like he's their only out. They're wrong in thinking that he's going to help them. Of course he's not going to fucking help them. But that explains why they turn to him and why they're okay with scapegoating, because it provides some sort of an answer when the establishment Democrats and Republicans haven't done shit for them in the longest time. So everything in context, what Hillary said here, it's really not that bad. Because she's saying, yeah, no, some of them are just bigots and they're just bad people, but then there are others who, again, she said, quote, people who feel the government has let them down and the economy let them down, nobody cares about them. Those are people we have to understand and empathize with as well. And then the final thing I'll say is, though her comments in isolation aren't bad, I mean, come on, you're Hillary Clinton. So it's not like you haven't played a part in perpetuating that system, because you are the epitome, the quintessential establishment Democrat. I mean, you're a Democrat who supported deregulation. You're a Democrat who supported NAFTA. You pushed for TPP 45 times before you came out against it. So, your policies, the things you've favored over the years, have made it so that these people are victimized and they think the economy is rigged against them because it is rigged against them. So even though you acknowledge there are many good people who support Trump and they're victims, you're still not understanding that you played a huge role in that. You're trying to make it seem like you're above it and like, oh, I mean, come on, I'm so reasonable and I get that some are good people and they're just down on their luck. Who could have possibly made it so that they're down on their luck? Gosh, it certainly wasn't me. I'm above the fray, and I'm going to help them if I'm elected. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. So again, her comments in isolation are reasonable, but you're Hillary Clinton. And you are you represent the establishment Democratic wing, which has also fucked over these people. And yeah, to be fair, you're a little better than the Republicans, of course. You're mostly better on social issues, and every now and then you want to throw the people a bone. Hey, I want to raise the minimum wage. Yay, that's a good thing. But it's still, I'm not going to give you, over-the-top credit for that and give you a fucking cookie, because you do the bare minimum, and that still contributes to this system that fucks over these people. So comments are okay in isolation, but you're Hillary Clinton, so there is always hypocrisy there, because you're not above it, and you help contribute to this establishment Democratic neoliberal disease that we see today.